Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Monday, November 7th, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I'm solo today for just a little baby 15-game slate. We've got all 30 NBA teams going, and I could not be more fired up. For those that listen a lot or they're members in our chat, you know, the more games, the better. I like large slates. I think it makes it tougher on our opponents and gives us a bigger edge. So, hey, you can't get a better sweet spot than every single team playing. And so we've got 30 teams to discuss today. And I am going to try to keep this moving because we don't want to be here at that first tip, that's for sure. So hello to everybody today out there. Appreciate Crash and Deb and Steve and everybody's been filling in. I've been traveling a bit. And as you can tell, you don't see Dirk and company behind me. I'm still traveling a bit. I'll be back at the home base tomorrow. So no NBA podcast tomorrow because there are no games. The election is dark for the NBA. And then Wednesday, Crash and I will be back for the last totally in front of the paywall podcast. As you know, for the members and those that have been listening, we are going to go to a new schedule where we're going to really try to encourage a lot of our longtime listeners to come and join us at Coach Talk. We have completely new pricing. We've lowered our prices and simplified the choices. You now have a week, month, 6 months, or a year to choose from. And you can look at all of those packages at dfscoachtalk.com. And then again, those podcasts are going to be in front of the paywall for the majority of our podcast each week. We're currently doing 7 NBA and 2 NFL. So out of those 9, we're going to have 6 of them for members only. And the podcast schedule is posted on Twitter and it's posted in Discord. And then the other 3 we will still do in front of the paywall just to keep some of the other folks that are trying to get to know what we're about here at Coach Talk. So that is sort of the groundwork for today and going forward with tomorrow and Wednesday. Quick hello and thank you to Nathan Feudy. You are the returning Jeopardy champion. You're the first one in chat today, and you got in there quite a bit early. So well done, Mr. Feudy. Great to have you with us. Earl, known as Mike Tyson, is in here looking for, I believe, some Fanduel information, which we certainly will give you some of that. David Dulac, how are you, my friend? King of all trades, Travis Wyndham, great to see you. Good vibes from everybody sending him there in chat. Stacks Money double sevens. Great to see you, RJ. CMO 614, thank you for joining us. You are officially a regular now after a couple of weeks of being in here every day. So we appreciate you. Pain Blank SM, also known as Dead Presidents, is also here. Malik Germany. I believe that's somebody new. I do not believe we've had a Malik Germany in here before. So if you are brand new, welcome to the Coach Talk family. We love the fact that you've joined us and hope you're with us on down the road every day. King of Smack, known as KOS. How are you, my friend? Great to see you. And we're ready to just crush this. JT's here. Justin Timberlake's here. I don't see Harry Styles today, though. We need to get a couple of these. No, Boy from Cali not in here. Oh, my goodness. And it's 15 games. They got to have a lot of catching up to do. All right, we can't play around with 30 teams to discuss unless people want to take a nap in between here. So we're going to get this show on the road. Certainly talk about pay up, value, fade plays, look through all of the ownership right now on Draftkings, Fanduel, and Yahoo. We have it's a little early ownership study, but it'll change as we get a little bit more news down to the wire. But as for now, this should give us a really good feel of building, at least getting close to our final lineups that we want to have done. Looking for a great night tonight with no basketball tomorrow. We certainly want to get that cooking. So let's talk about ownership out of the gate. Actually, before we do ownership, I'm going to give you a little update of some of the big names. Giannis is probable. Some of these may update or updated, but Giannis probable, Embiid questionable, Trae Young and Damian Lillard questionable, Zach LaVine questionable, Anthony Davis is going to play, LeBron is going to be out. Kevin Porter Jr. is questionable, as is Tyler Hero and Anthony Simons. Unbelievable amount of information that we still need. Jeff Green, probable. Steven Adams, questionable. Dennis Smith Jr. is also a possibility of playing or sitting. Jabari Smith Jr. looks like he's going to get in there. And Josh Hart, Justice Winslow, they should all be suiting up tonight. Quentin Grimes, though, for the Knicks, questionable. It looks doubtful on Aaron Nesmith, and Reggie Jackson and Jared Vanderbilt still questionable. So massive news. And again, it's going to be one of those nights where you put the lineups together, you build them, and you got to watch the news. You got to watch things as they change if anything else jumps up. So let's see. AD again, because no LeBron. Well, you guys know that listen all the time. When LeBron or AD sit, I generally like to go to the other one. So that certainly becomes something that is in play. Let's see. King of Smack, only one ticket for Showdown and cashed $8.90. Fantastic, man. That's when you can really have that kind of ROI. That's the way you want to do it. So congratulations, man. That's fantastic. All right, here we go. We're diving in. No time to waste. Here's ownership. Give you a feel for what's going on. It's pretty funny when you look at the top of this ownership list, and that's how it has a tendency to go. You know, talk about not wanting to stack today. I mean, you've got 30 teams. So to have more than 2 from any team, you know, unless you think it's going to be a triple overtime, crazy high scoring game, you're better that spreading that out. It just, you know, you're going to have more bang for the salary buck that you spend just by making sure the people that you're drafting from opposite teams have a higher ceiling than if they're having to snipe from each other on the same team. But to start out, here we are. How about 4 Lakers being the top highest owned guys? Because LeBron's out, I guess people are reacting to that game and going bonkers. Kendrick Nunn, number 1 at 45.5 at only 3,000. That makes him extremely playable because it does allow you to get to a second pay up. Westbrook, who'd ever think we'd have Westbrook playing for the Lakers again after he was going to be sent home, and now he's the second highest paid guy on the our own guy on the slate at 6,500. So definitely not one for the weak of heart, because if you play Westbrook, yes, can he make have a triple double and get you 75, even 80? Westbrook, it's not dead yet. Or can he do like Westbrook has done the last year and throw like an 18 or 20 on the board, and you've got him with everybody else, no leverage, 43% owned. Definitely something that is definitely a questionable way to go, and I'm probably not going to go that direction. Troy Brown continues to get ownership day after day. He's 3,800, 32.5. AD, as what was mentioned in chat, both power forward and center eligible. 9,100 is not bad with LeBron out, and he's getting a quarter of the DFS world rostering him right now. So still decent enough leverage there that you still could go that route. A guy that I love and have been playing since he's been the starting center and Mitch Robb went down hurt is $5,200 Isaiah Hartenstein at 23%. Slow-mo at 4,100 is 21%. Scotty Barnes, I think very fairly priced at 7,200, 19%. A very popular, I think tonight, Kristaps Porzingis at 7,700 playing the Hornets at 17%. And then I'm going to give you this group together because they're all in that 15 to 12% range. Terry Rozier, Cade Cunningham, OG Anunoby, Miles Turner, Monte Morris, Darius Garland at only 6,900, Clarkson, Klay Thompson, 5,700. If you believe he's back into that motivated shooting scenario, like when we had him the other night at 9X. And then Jared Vanderbilt, who we're waiting to see if he is in or not. SGA, 9,400. I mean, I thought his price would be closer to the 10 spot because where he's been lately. So that is what we've got for ownership out of the chute. A little bit of a shift on Fanduel and Yahoo compared to DraftKings, but nothing serious enough that it really needs to go make things more confusing for us. So let's take a quick look in here, see what comments we have thus far. Let's see, talking a little bit of slates and winning. That's yeah, I see that. That makes it tough. Yeah, tonight's Monday Night Football game, we're going to have that posted. Lineups will be posted by Josh and Steven for that game tonight. All right, here we go. Game number 1. I think everybody's starting to drift in. Remember, we're going to give a ticket away here at the end of the podcast. So make sure you make a comment in chat. The randomizer will choose someone from there for that ticket. Also, take a second right now on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind. Hit the thumbs up. That is greatly appreciated. Also, might as well subscribe and hit the alert button in the upper corner. By hitting that little alarm every time one of our podcasts posts, which in front of the paywall, that will be 3 times a week starting on Wednesday. And then we're going to have about 7 podcasts behind the paywall. Also, though, if you are subscribed, you're still going to get that alert when it posts. People that aren't subscribed are part of membership with the Coach Talk. You will be able to watch the podcast. They'll be posted after as we go to lock. So if you still want to check those out, you can do that. All right, my friends. Yeah, thumbs up, Travis. We appreciate that. And Aloysius, David, everybody, thank you very much for jumping in there and for that support. All right, game 1. Here we go. We've got Washington Wizards 4-6 at the Charlotte Hornets 3-7. We have out for Bradley Beal and DeLon Wright. Questionable for D. Smith Jr., which is important because we need to know if he's in there because it messes with their rotation. Martin is doubtful, Ball and Hayward out. So Charlotte is pretty decimated. Big part of that reason why they're 3-7, really struggling out of the gate. They have not got a single minute out of Lonzo Ball just yet. So we'll hopefully, or LaMelo Ball, any of the balls, none of them are playing. All right, in that Wizards Hornets game, you've got 106 implied for the Wizards, 108 for the Hornets. So you get 2 teams under that 110. That sets off an alarm of this is a shitty game for DFS. So you got to take, take notice of that. Just like when we have the combined totals where they're both over those 110 numbers, we can start to get some interest. But in this game, I mean, there's a few different ways you can go. Monte Morris has been okay, nothing to write home about it, but at 4.8, certainly an opportunity of play there. Kispert's back in the starting lineup at 3.5 has a little bit of interest. Kuzma now down to that 7 range, which is really a good price for him. Certainly a good matchup for him tonight, too. And I think he is really a target if you're going to have many targets from this low-scoring game. Kristaps Porzingis, again, at 7.7. We've been focusing on him recently. He's had some good games, and if he stays out of foul trouble, can certainly be a good play. If Smith sits, I think it fortifies how good of a play Terry Rozier is. He's only 7.7, and they're going to need his scoring. So really like him, especially if Smith is out. Kelly Oubre at 6.3 and P.J. Washington at 5.8. 2 guys that I would consider as well as value plays. Only one or the other, without question. For me in this game, I would not want to go more than a 1v1 here, maybe a Kuzma and Rozier under those circumstances. Don't feel that there's a need to go to the Hornets bench. All right, we've got game number 2. It is the Houston Rockets 1-9 and Orlando Magic 2-8. So Wembanyama sweepstakes probably not any bigger than with these two teams. Both going to play for that first pick, no doubt about it. Both super young teams with no playoff expectations, but it should make for a decent DFS game here. It really should. You've got the matchup here of a 224 total, so 10 points higher than the last game. Orlando's only favored by 5, and I think that's more of a toss-up game in my book. But some of that will have to do if Kevin Porter Jr. Plays or not. If he does not play, I'm totally with Jeff Green. I like the backcourt here with Houston consistently, but I don't like the split shots and usage that Porter and Green consistently share in the backcourt. So 100% real comfortable at 6'4", Jalen Green if Porter's out. Won't be as excited if it isn't set up that way with him playing full minutes. So we're going to watch that. That game starts at 7:15, which is a really, really weird time. Never see that, games on the 15 minutes, but it's what it says here. So I'm believing that that's the case. But we should get that news before lock. I think Şengün in play at 6'5". I think that's he has certainly shown some ceiling in some of his games recently. Off the bench now, it's getting a little crowded with KJ Martin and Eason, and even the guy will never play in the history of DFS again, Mr. Usman Garuba, who is definitely not in play. Jabari Smith, though, man, 5'7", starts to get very interesting. We know the ceiling he has. He's a double-double waiting to happen. And against a team like Orlando that doesn't defend well, very, very tempted on Jabari Smith here. And I think this game needs to get some consideration. Jalen Suggs, obviously, he was our crush play that cashed us all over the place last time. And with all their guys out at that 5'8" number, just extremely interesting again. Bull's up to 6'6". Banchero is 8'7". Wendell Carter 7'5". They're all priced right now where they used to be value, but all need to be considered to some extent. As far as the injury designations here, really other than Porter being questionable and Ty Washington questionable, Fernando and Tater out, and half the Orlando team remains out: Anthony Fultz, Harris Isaac, and Mo Wagner. So, you really can lean more on Suggs, Franz Wagner, Banchero, Bull, and Carter. So it's not like they're not playable commodities. I just don't know how deep you want to go there. But neither one of these teams has learned how to play defense. Very ranked very low in a defensive efficient manner, and they both play pretty fast. So especially with Houston's tempo, even though they're 1-9 and 2-8, don't let that scare you from having some good exposure to this game. I definitely will. All right, let's check real quick who else joined us. Rico Harris, how are you today? Doug L, what is the word? Green, it says Green probable. If Green is downgraded, let me know, because that would definitely make guys like Eric Gordon and people that we haven't been utilizing in play. Because I'll tell you what, Porter and Green get up a ton of shots. So we're going to follow that closely if anybody has any updated information on Mr. Green. Hopefully he plays and Porter sits, and then that's a pretty easy decision for us. All right, let's go. It's got to keep on moving today. No messing around. Game 3, 7:30, Oklahoma City Thunder at the Detroit Pistons. The Thunder are 1.5 favorite, 223.5 total, 112.5 implied for the Thunder, 111 for Detroit. So now we're back to that, two teams with decent numbers on the total here. And I think they're certainly playable commodities without question. In this game, as far as the implied totals, let's see here. We've got we said 112.5 Thunder and 111 Detroit. Injury-wise is what I want to discuss here. Pokacheski not playing, so no Poku, no Bailey and Burks. They've still remained out for Detroit. So it's really, other than Poco from OKC being out, you're going to have that same exact rotation, similar usage. The Thunder are 4-5 and Pistons 2-8. So, these two teams are certainly teams on the rise without a question. Absolute Power, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Yes, Martin and Eason would be great plays if they're shorthanded. That usage has to go somewhere. And don't sell the old man Eric Gordon short either if somehow Green and Porter end up sitting. But for now, I do not see anything telling me that Green is going to sit. All right, SGA 9-4. Is he in play here? Absolutely. If he's going to play unlimited minutes, I don't care that their main guys are in. He is unquestionably the leader of this team. He's by far the highest usage play, and we know that the Pistons have not defended well in the backcourt. So pay up option for me today is SGA. Giddy, if you want to go second flight at 6'9". I like the rookie Jalen Williams. I've mentioned that since the preseason show. He's only 4'2". If he's going to start, I think he could be another way to get a super value play in there if you're going stars and scrubs today. No interest for me today with this matchup in Lou Dort or JRE or Baisley or any of those guys off the bench, Kenrich Williams. You're going to get the return of Jalen Duren today. So he and Isaiah Stewart will split a lot of minutes in the backcourt for the Pistons. Duren being a really good defender and rim protector, I think is going to take some of that play away from Stewart. So if I'm looking at the Pistons side, if I want to match up this game with SGA and look for a decent scoring game, for me, I'd rather go second flight price-wise here. Cunningham is 7-7, which is a bit much for me. But these three guys well in play, and I think you could actually roster two of the three. Ivy's only 5'9", so he's under 6K. Sadiq Bey only 5'5", some risk certainly incurred with him. And Bogdanovich, he's had some really good games. He's been dinged at times where he hasn't had as good of games, but he's only 5'7", and we know he can literally be somewhat of a slate breaker and drop 7-8 threes and put a complete game together. So definitely a guy you want to consider there. All right, now, so today we've got all these games on the 15 minutes spot. I didn't really notice that earlier, but I think the NBA wanted to stagger some of the starts because they don't have, I think there's only 2 days throughout the entire season that all 15 teams play. It does not happen often. And again, it's just because of the strangeness with no games tomorrow because of the election. But at 7:45, it's the Pelicans and Pacers. New Orleans favored by 5. It's a 233 total. Two very healthy implieds here. And this is the fourth highest scoring game, according to Vegas, on the slate. You've got two 234s, a 235, and this 233 game. So all bulk together, bunched together, and definitely all very playable. A lot of tough decisions to make today, without question. In this game, let's see, injury-wise, we've got Lewis, Liddell, and Temple out for the Pelicans. Other than that, they got all their guns back. Nembhard and Nesmith questionable for Indiana. Duarte and Tice are out. So a little bit different look for the Pacers here. Pels look like they could be really some trouble being healthy. I think them only being favored by 5 is not enough. I think that they're way better than the Pacers. We know that the Pacers are part of that Wembanyama sweepstakes. At least they think they are, but they're 4-5, which is fairly respectable. Pels only 5-4, but they've been dinged up. My problem with the Pelicans is now that they have CJ, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Joe Val, you're talking about 4 producers of DFS points. But when you take one of those guys, and you can do all the different combinations, if you ever want to check that out, go to basketball-reference.com, go to advanced stats. You can drill down, break down the players on the floor, what the usage is, and usage rules. That's the number one thing you need to look at in preparing these lineups. Because if you don't have the usage, you can have a player out there for 40 minutes standing in the corner. You just have to look at that usage rating. The problem, like I said, in moving around all these guys, when you have CJ, Brandon, Zion, and Jonas out there, those four in particular, and Herb Jones is back too, but he's the least usage of the five. But when you have those other four guys out there, it makes it much more difficult because they're 8.5, 8, 8.6, and 7K. So they're not giveaway pricing, but they're priced as though some of the other guys were out, and they've all missed games this season, basically, except CJ. So I'm not going to go there. I think that this game, personally, in my opinion, is going to grab a lot of attention because it's one of the earlier higher scoring games. It's almost 20 points higher than the next game we're going to go over. I think people are going to overreact to that, try to jam in too many guys now. But I will say this, there's two guys I'm looking at here. Tyrese Halliburton, if I don't go all the way up for the high price 10K guys, the Trae Youngs and Giannis's and Lukas, we've got them all today. So it's going to be insane. But if you do try to stay with somewhat of a medium build, which is very difficult, I think Tyrese Halliburton at 8.5 is absolutely fine play. I really do. I mean, he is dominating usage for that team. They're getting Mathurin and Hield and Smith and Turner and a few guys off the bench to contribute, but it's the Halliburton show, no doubt about it. And I think he's going to have a great game here. He is the target for me, and I'd almost rather go to those 8 and 9K guys than going up to the 11s and the big price guys. But there are some value that you can get to. So you're going to have any choice of build that you want today. Ownership that we read off isn't going to be that dramatic. You're going to get one or two guys from the teams that have people sitting, like the Lakers, where you're going to get some, hard ones to avoid. But you can grab leverage back with some of the other talent that's out there on this slate. So for me, again, this isn't going to be a focal point game for me just because of the usage share with all the Pels on the floor. The fact that I think the Pels are going to handle this game, and the only spot I'd look at is Halliburton on the other side. So that's a bit contrarian. You're going to have a hard-pressed time finding a lot of lineups. I think you'll be surprised that don't have at least two guys from that game. All right, everybody's doing well. Good. Everybody's listening in. Not a ton of questions yet. So we're going to keep this train moving. Next game. Phoenix Suns, Philadelphia 76ers. Like I said, paltry 214.5, which is almost an eliminator. It is at least Phoenix by 2.5. So they are a road favorite, which means, you're going to get full run for the guys if it stays competitive. But how high of a scoring game is this going to be overall? 214 is a low number. We haven't seen a lot below 215 recently. You do have some decent prices that are fair. I think the sites did a good job lowering a few of these prices on the Phoenix guys, and the mid-priced Philly guys are down as well. So you do have some decent plays there. I don't think it's just a flat, immediate fade like I would normally say a game that's this low scoring expectation, but definitely not stacking it. We need the Joel Embiid news. He's questionable. That changes everything, as we all know. And that's going to be a big piece of, whether we have any exposure to this game or not. Because not only does it change the usage up for Philly, it really adds to the plus side for Phoenix when you move Embiid's interior defense and his rim protection, which I think are one of the three best in the NBA. So it does open things up for driving for a Paul or Booker, the mid-range shot for Paul, any internal play that they have with Ayton, even Torrey Craig and Mikal Bridges a little bit does some slashing. So, if Embiid's in, it really lowers this game for me of any interest. If he's out, though, I think you can go to an interior like an Ayton or maybe a Bridges for Phoenix. And on the Philly side, it shuffles the deck completely. And then, all of a sudden you're looking at the possibility of a cheaper Tyrese Maxey, who we know his ceiling is ridiculous. He was part of that winning lineup for us the other day. DeAnthony Melton, who's going to, everybody loves DeAnthony Melton right now, and he deserves it. The price is starting to drift up. Super cheap Tobias Harris. If anybody sees a ceiling game coming from him, it has not been there. But Philly's 4-6. They need a win. They don't want to fall 3 games below 500 and be chasing all season. Phoenix, of course, as we know, it's 7-2 in the driver's seat as they normally are. So, Garage Junkie Productions, how are you? Salute there to Mr. Abe Lincoln. Thank you for joining the group. Aaron Sampson. Great to see everybody drifting in here. We got a pretty big group in here now. We are driving through this 15-game slate. So we've knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So actually, we're on breakneck speed here for me. You guys know, 15-game slate, you probably thought, damn, coach is going to be there 2.5 hours. But I am not going to allow myself to do that. We're going to get through this today and get you all the information that you need. If you're watching right now, get that thumbs up, get it done on YouTube, hit the subscribe and hit the alert button. If you're watching on Twitter Live, please like and retweet. Also, if you want to try out Boom Fantasy, they're our presenting sponsor today. We have a link right there in our bio on Twitter, on basically everywhere we are. It's on our website, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You can connect right there, and they'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit. So fantastic if you want to try them out. They're in 26 states and growing. And you can get, as you see on the below me here, a 40x play if you're playing the long shots. And you can't get that on a lot of the competitive sites. So give Boom a try. Connect, if you would, with the link that's attached anywhere here, and they'll match it with that $100. All right, 8:15. We're on these weird 15-minute intervals. Milwaukee Bucks and Atlanta Hawks. Crash's Bucks. He's got tied up today work-wise, so just left me alone for a 15-game slate. No problem. And Deb, it's okay, guys. I can handle it. No worries. I'm just kidding him. But I'm going to be mean to the Bucks now with Crash missing. But do you go to 12-6 Giannis? Now, does he deserve to be 12-6? Hell yeah, he does. But I'm not going to spend 12-6 personally. Now, I will say you got to like the lines here. 226 is fair. Milwaukee is only favored by 4. 115 implied for them. 111 for the Hawks. So, all of those things point to high numbers. And we know Giannis has been like psycho this year already. I mean, he gets 50. He can get 50 in a quarter and a half. It doesn't even make any sense. But you know what? It's interior D of Collins and Capella. And, you've got some decent bigs off the bench for Atlanta. Hunter's a fine defender. You can get down there and double down on Giannis. I mean, at this point, if you're, running with Javon Carter out there and, some of the other guys off their bench that aren't that good, make somebody else beat you is my theory today on Atlanta. I can't imagine they let Giannis just go apeshit again like he's been doing. I mean, there's going to be some doubling on him. They have the guys that can do it. And I just don't think Giannis at 12-6 with 30 teams playing makes any sense for me. Could he get 80? Absolutely. You can survive that, though, at 12-6. I mean, you can pay $3,000-$4,000 down and get a guy that can put 75 on the board. So risk reward, I'm not going to go there. I'd prefer Drew Holiday or Bobby Portis. If you want to go really on the cheap, Brook Lopez has played out of his mind pretty consistently this year. He's really upped his game and potential for 7-8x. So not out of the question there. But Holiday and Portis would be my number 1 and 2 target on the Milwaukee side. Bucks still undefeated, 9-0. Hawks very respectable, 6-3. I believe they were 0-2. So they may be 6-1 in their last 7, playing much better. The whole thing has to do with this. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen here. If Trae Young plays, he's a great play. If he sits, then DeJounte Murray becomes pretty much my favorite play on the slate. It's that simple because the usage, the ball handling, the assist ratio, everything goes through the roof for Murray with Young down. And so that's a no-brainer. Other than that, though, nothing, no interest whatsoever on, the Hunter, Collins, Capella, and their bench guys either, because you've got the interior defense of, Portis, Giannis, Lopez, and company. So guards, one of the guards for Atlanta, fine play. And I think second flight guy for Milwaukee would make perfect sense to me. All right, quick check here and a drink. Let's check. Let's see if anybody else is in there. Yeah, it's always worth worrying about Embiid's conditioning. And it's always worrying, about how much is he going to play if he plays. And I'm not going to go to Embiid for those reasons, Doug L., to be honest with you. I mean, he can put tons of points together quickly, but Embiid, as awesome as he is not Giannis, Luka, or the Joker. Those three, you can feel they're going to cap. But there are times because of Embiid's minutes control, that they're trying to concern themselves with him. I just don't think it makes sense to take that risk. I really don't. So that's my feelings on Mr. Embiid. All right, let's go. Let's keep this moving. Portland, Miami, Trailblazers 6-3, Heat disappointing 4-6. All kinds of crazy info here as far as guys possibly in, out, or who knows what's going to happen, but we're going to follow. It's an 8:30 game. Miami home favored by 6, 217.5 the total. 105.75 implied for Portland, 111.75 for the Heat. All right, try to figure this one out, people. Damian Lillard, now I have listed as very likely to play. So I'm counting Lillard in. He's been upgraded from probable to very likely to play. That generally means they're in. So Anthony Simons is the question mark, though. He is questionable. So we need that news. Hart and Winslow probable, Peyton and Sarr out. We have one big one for Miami. Tyler Hero questionable. Important news there. Oladipo and Yurtseven remain out. So, it really becomes a pretty simple situation here. If Lillard plays, do you want to pay 9-1 for Lillard? Certainly a hell of a lot less than the 12-6 and some of the big numbered guys. So he would fit into that. As crazy as it sounds, 9-1 is almost part of a medium build with some of these $11,000 and $12,000 prices. But he has to face a Heat team that does play slow. Portland's implied is only 105.75. Maybe that goes up a little when Dame is confirmed in. But I don't know. In Miami, the defense they play, not that they've been fantastic. They have not played good defense according to their standards by any question. So it makes it a little bit tougher. But, Miami does have their guys back. And with Lillard out there, should stay close enough that everybody gets a full run. So there is some possibilities, especially if Hero's out. Then you got to really look at Jimmy Butler. Because to get a sub 9K Jimmy Butler, I mean, him at 8.8, even though he's really been disappointing at times, is very cheap. When you can go over $3,000 cheaper than some of the other stronger players, you got to consider him. Bam certainly in play at sub 8K at 7.9. I think certainly becomes very interesting. And, my old standby go-to, if Max Strus can find his way in the starting lineup, if Hero sits, then I've got to go back at mid-5s Max Strus, because when he gets the minutes, he's going to get the shots up and he'll grab a few rebounds. He gets it done. So this game is going to have everything to do about Hero being in or out for me, and I'm going to follow that closely. If he's out, I'm going to pull the trigger on a bigger buy up in Butler or Adebayo. If he's and I'm going to be looking at Strus in that starting lineup. But if he plays, I'm going to be much more hesitant, probably just one Heat player at best. On the Portland side, like I said, Lillard not out of question at a very fair price. The deal is there a restriction? Is he going to be minutes monitored? We've seen it go both ways. A lot of times a guy coming back from an injury, if there are minutes restriction, it does kill you to spend the big dollars. So I tend to steer away from it. When it's somebody like, when we really felt the other day we were going to get a good performance out of Darius Garland, and we got those reports, that he was going to play in spurts or limited, we didn't play him and he ended up playing full minutes. So I definitely want to get more updated information on Lillard before we make that decision. If Simon sits, it does open things up for Shaedon Sharpe or Justice Winslow. Those would be the two guys at 5'2" and 4'6", respectable. I think would be both very good plays. Josh Hart 6'4", Jeremy Grant 6'5", certainly good options. Even if Lillard's in, I think those two guys as well could be playable. But not going to stack this game by any stretch of the imagination. Probably one from each side, and looking to see if Simons and Hero are going to play before I make that final decision. So for members, you're going to get that information in Discord. We'll be putting all of the updated ownership in there right after the podcast, and then we'll be supplying an entire core group for DraftKings, full lineups for Fanduel and Yahoo. All right. Oh, Harry Styles has finally made it back. What's up, my friend? Great to have you back in here. Let's see. You're still on the Raptors. That's cool. If they got you the money, it's hard not to stay there. Let's see here. What do I think about the Clippers point guard situation? Wall is out and Jackson is questionable. We're going to get to that squad. I think it's pretty damn confusing. I think they're rotating a lot of guys. I don't particularly trust Wall at all right now. Just the last couple of games just seem just not right there. We know he's got some personal issues to boot. Just makes it very difficult. So we'll break that game down, but we need that news on Jackson, because if he's going to play and be fine, then we don't have anything to think about. If he's not, then we're going to have to reshuffle that. Smart Guy 28, how are you, man? Great to have you in here with us. Thank you for jumping in. All right, back to the breakdown. We're keeping things moving today. No messing around at all. Thank you, KOS. I appreciate that. When you have 15 games and you're going solo, you can't screw around. You gotta play it straight. No BSing on those days. All right, Toronto Raptors 6-4, Chicago Bulls 5-6. Khem Birch and Pascal Siakam, massive for Toronto, out. For Chicago, Derek Jones Jr., he is probable. Zach LaVine's the big news. He's questionable, like it seems he is every damn game, which really makes it tough for us in DFS, because that's an 8:45 game, so we don't know for sure. Drummond doubtful, Ball and White out. So LaVine's going to be just massive news there. It just changes the whole perspective there. If LaVine sits, DeRozan, even at that price, becomes such a massive play. I mean, let's face it. With Siakam out too. I mean, I talk about it all the time. He's a ball hog. He's get out of his way. He wants the ball. It massive usage jump for Scotty Barnes, a jump for Gary Trent, a big jump for Anunoby. Boucher becomes in play. So you go with Siakam out, which he is, you now have some serious Toronto Raptors to consider. Wouldn't play more than two on any of these teams, as I mentioned earlier. But because of the pricing, I don't think two Toronto Raptors are a bad play whatsoever. And following it up, On the other side, if Levine sits, possibly with the DeRozan, and then, let the chips fly, because that game has some really good potential. But, the question is, the numbers right now, and they may shift depending if Levine's in or out, but Chicago's favored by 2.5. It's 220.5 total. 109 implied for Toronto, 111.5 for Chicago. So very run-of-the-mill, regular type game. It makes sense to look at some of these teams, these two teams in this type of situation, but not two teams you want to really have even a 2v2 here. I would not go that deep. I think you got to pick those spots. But you've got Van Vliet at 7.6. His price is very fair now. He was in the mid-9s a lot last year. Gary Trent at 5.6. Like I say, bargain basement. Scotty Barnes only 7.2, and he can have some big games. And Anunoby at 6.2. So those guys are all in play. Let's face it. When with Siakam out, that usage jumps. I would say Barnes and Anunoby are probably the two guys I like best out of that group at this point. Again, Chicago, can't discuss it for that long because Levine in at 7.3, if he's playing without restrictions, great play. If he sits, it makes DeMar DeRozan at 8.3 pretty much a plug and play for me, because he's going to dominate usage. If it's Dosunmu starting with like a Caruso, Patrick Williams, and a lot of Javonte Green and Vuk. So the ball's going to be flying for DeRozan without Zach. But there's no doubt when they're both on the floor, it changes things, and they're both decreased value in my book. So news dependent, folks. We got to stay in tune and watch how that's going to play out throughout the rest of the evening. All right, 9 o'clock, people. It is Boston Celtics, Memphis Grizzlies. Nice 231 total. You don't see a lot of 230 plus totals for Boston or Memphis usually. Those are two teams that made it their runs last year with great defense. This year, not so much. Neither one playing terrific D. If it's just the different coach in Boston, and I don't know what the deal is in Memphis, but these two teams are not going to take those type of deep runs in the playoffs unless they start changing that aspect of what's going on. So it is a Boston by 3.5, road favorite, like I say, with that 231 total. So good, really good implied totals here, and it definitely creates a lot of interest. And I think this game is going to get a ton of ownership. Mark my words. Celtics are 6-3, and the Grizzlies are 7-3. So, even though they're not playing good D, they're winning, and I guess that's all that really matters. Gallinari's out for the year, so they need to stop putting him on here. They already got the emergency exception for him, which eliminates him from being able to play the rest of the year. Cornette, Robert Williams, too. Those three guys have been out forever. I'm not even going to mention them anymore because it's a waste of time. Steven Adams, the big one, questionable. Very, very important because that changes everything. Laravia, the rookie, who really looked good in limited play before he got dinged up, he's questionable. So we need that news. Green, Jackson, and Williams are out. But it looks like we're going to have that, front line of Morant, Bane, and Brooks in the backcourt. Those three guys that are going to dominate on that side of the ball. But they have to face the likes of Smart, White, Brown, Tatum, and they can all defend. So I know the stats say one thing, and I don't, ignore the stats. If, I'm going on past performance and what I think is going to regulate throughout the year defensively for Boston and Memphis, then this would not be a game that I would focus on. But I respect the Vegas lines. I respect the numbers that are popping out of my optimizer and popping out of, the numbers of DFS points that are going to be available in this game. So I think you have to make some consideration. Do you go Brown or Tatum? The billion-dollar question every day, which I get tired of trying to figure out. I mean, you want to spend for 10-2 Tatum, or you can go for an 8-4 Brown, go for a little bit more of a medium build with Brown, which a little more conducive to my like, but you certainly losing some of the ceiling by going with Brown over Tatum, but also you're going to pay for it. So you got to decide either way if that's a spot you want to go. As far as the rest of the guys, though, man, I just don't have any interest. Brogdon is played really well off the bench, and he and Smart and White, they got to just take the chump change that's left after all the shots and usage from Brown and Tatum. So I don't know if you can really count on that. They're not free squares either. 5'8" Smart, 4'5" White, and 5'2" Brogdon. So you're not getting a free square. Then even on the inside, Horford, I've tried to sneak him in a few times. One time he was horrible. One time he got to 5.5x, which was doable. But he just does not look like the same Al Horford to me on a consistent basis. I think they're going to monitor his minutes, but he is only 5'3". Grant Williams getting a big chunk of that off the bench at 4'4" certainly is, playable. Noah Vonleh has a tendency to get in. Not that those guys are playable to me, but I think they do take enough minutes and rebounds away from Horford to not really create a situation that I want to mess around with. So not real high on the Boston side today. It's just that simple for me. Not that I think they're bad play, and their implied total at 117.25 is very good. Ja at 10-1 is too much for me. Let's face it. I mean, I'd love to say, yeah, play Ja, play all these guys, but you're not going to be able to afford them salary-wise, whether you're playing on DraftKings, Fanduel, or Yahoo. You've got to make some decisions. 10-1 Ja for me, getting, pounded on by Marcus and Derek White and these guys. I just don't think it's advisable. I really don't. I think he's awesome. He can have some big games. I just don't think Boston is the game that I would, if you're going to get 60 from Durant, you're going to say, great, but that's 6X. It's not going to break any slates. I mean, and what if he doesn't get to that number? I just think it's too risky. I'd prefer going with the secondary guy in Desmond Bane at 7-7. Very, very affordable. Dylan Brooks is, he's due for a breakout game. Problem is, though, he gets some Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum back on the other side. So even though Brooks is only 5'7", it becomes very difficult, to determine if that's doable. We need the news on Steven Adams, because I'm literally to this point with Steven Adams, how he's playing. If he is going to play with no restrictions, 5'5" Steven Adams is a great play. You don't have any of those bigs that we mentioned for Boston. You've got just a conglomeration of guys that aren't very good. Let Al Horford or Noah Vonleh or Grant Williams try to stop humongous Steven Adams in there. If he's going to play big minutes at 5'5", he's a steal. If he's restricted, no. If he's going to sit, obviously that's not going to fly. Can you play somebody in that spot if Adams sits? I would think it's Brandon Clark. He's only 4'2". If for some reason he starts, which is possible, unless they slide Aldama down at center, so you've got, for me, it's very simple. If Adams is in, I'd like to play him. If he's not in Clark's the starting center, I think Clark's a 4'2" great play. And it does allow you then to take one of those mid-level, what we're calling mid-level, 8'5" to 9'1" kind of players, and jump up to one of the 10-1 or 10-3 players by getting that extra spot from a value standpoint. So news is important today, people, and I cannot emphasize that enough. Quick check. What else do we have in here? Octavius Bailey, we still live? Yes. Can you guys hear me? Are we live? Hopefully. I hope so. Let's see. William Roan. How are you, William? I think you're brand new. Let's see. Oh, Dallas. Let's see. Portland, Bucks, Dallas, Utah. I like it, man. Thank you for the information. And William, I hope you're in here with us every day. Great to see you, my friend. Who else jumped in? I saw somebody else in there too. Great to see. I like to see the chatter here. Hero is out. So Hero's officially out. So that's a good thing. Important news. I love Hartenstein, Rodney. I think it was Hartenstein. Mitch Robb is out. Then I think Hartenstein is always a great play. because his points per minute is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous for a guy that if give him 30 minutes and he's gonna get you 7-8x all the time. Octavius I didn't know Octavius was TA 388. I never put those 2 and 2 together. How's it going, man? That is fantastic. Are you enjoying the Coach Talk membership and being part of the family, Octavius? It's been fantastic having you in there. All right. Great to see more and more people diving in here, but I get sidetracked very easily, so I better get back on the stick here. We are down to, we are talking the Knicks right now. So New York Knicks at Minnesota Timberwolves. Knicks 4-5, T-Wolves 5-5. Injuries, Quentin Grimes questionable for the Knicks. Mitch Robb is out for sure. So Hartenstein will be my center in most of my lineups. He and Adams, if Adams plays, but Hartenstein I'm loving in this matchup, especially since Rudy Gobert is out for Minnesota. That would have been my only deterrent, and now I'm happy because Cat is not a good post defender. Hartenstein has no range, really. I mean, he can knock a shot down once in a while, but he's going to dominate the paint in this game. He's probably my favorite value play. Let's just go ahead and say it. Hartenstein, my favorite value play on the slate for sure. In this game, as far as the line goes, let's look at that because let's see what Vegas thinks because we have to have their opinion. Would you believe it is Minnesota by 3? But it's a 235.5 total. So we have the highest total. So somebody needs to get the paddles ready for Tom Thibodeau over there. He's going to have a heart attack if his games are always the highest on the slate. He's a slow down defensive coach. So why his games have been consistently getting high totals? Well, because they're going higher. They're not defending as well. And they're playing with a hell of a lot more pace. Since they added Jalen Brunson this year, they decided to really ratchet it up. When they had R.J. Barrett and some of those guys running it and, the old Derrick Rose, it was slow down ball, but now it's just a different entity. So, yeah, this game's in play. I'm not stacking any games, but I think Jalen Brunson at 7-1 is a hell of a play. I don't think his price should be 7-1. I think Cam Reddish, if he's going to get monster minutes, could be another way that you can get serious value at 3-4 would be a terrific way to go if he's going to be in there. Certainly 7-6 Randall. Now, I'm a little bitter because he burned me the other day really bad, but I'm not going to go Randall today because I'm really pushing the chips in on Hartenstein. I think that's really the way to go. If Grimes sits or is restricted, that just lowers the rotation of guards. You'll get some quickly for sure. If you want to go quickly, I'm not at 4-3, but he'll get some run. Toppin will get some run. I just don't see going there. To me, it's all about Brunson, value with Reddish, and going Hartenstein for sure. On the Minnesota side, with no Gobert, it does make Cat more of an interesting play, but he's 10K flat. And Hartenstein is going to take some rebounds from him. I think that the interior play for the Knicks, even though they haven't defended well, is still very good. So not going to spend the 10K number on Cat. Ant always seems to sting me at 8-2 is a little worrisome for me. D'Angelo Russell at 6'9", I think is a little bit better of a play. And we have to mention Crash's favorite player in NBA history, Jaden McDaniels, now at 4.8 becomes playable. Not really interested in slow-mo. I know he's 4-1, but it doesn't really get me too fired up. So I like the Knicks side better than the T-Wolves side. Little interest to Russell and McDaniels, though, for the T-Wolves. All right, 15 minutes later at 9:30, we have the Denver Nuggets and San Antonio Spurs. Almost the highest total. There's 234.5. 2 games left. This is one of those. 121 implied, which is really stout for Denver. That gets your attention. 113.5 implied for San Antonio. Denver is a 7.5 point road favorite. We all say the Spurs suck, especially me, and they've won games. I don't know how. Other than Pop is one of the greatest coaches ever. There's no doubt about that. Nuggets are 6-3. San Antonio's 5-5. So we all know that that's eventually going to go the wrong direction. As far as injuries, Jeff Green is going to play. Najee, Ish Smith are doubtful, and Gillespie is out. Collins, Langford, and Wesley out for the Spurs. So you're going to have most of that normal rotation. Murray, Pope, Porter, Gordon, Joker. So nobody's going to be losing. No one's really out for their key players. And same thing with San Antonio, who's been on a rotation. But they have Jones, Vassell, Johnson, Sokan, and Pirtle all in there. So what do we like about this game? I mean, it's a high total, and we know that Denver likes to get out, score the ball. I'm not going Joker, as I've said all day. I'm just not going to go up to these big numbers. I do think the fact that the Joker's $1,000 cheaper than Giannis certainly wants you to get involved there and makes me want to go there. But at 11-6, I just don't think I'm going to do it. Again, Porter's playing. Murray's getting more minutes and more involved. Gordon had a really good game the other day. They're getting contributions off the bench from Brown and Highland and Green if he plays. So more interested, believe it or not. Yeah, go ahead and punch me in the nose here, but I'm more interested in a few of the Spurs, and it's painful to say. It is a 113.5 total, but I really like Trey Jones, man. I think he's such a good player, and I don't like Jamal Murray's defense, and I don't think KCP will guard him. I really do think Murray, I have him matched up on him. So Jones is some interest. Keldon Johnson, now that he's over 7K, doesn't make me as excited. I do think he's the best player on the team, though. I think that you got to consider him, but really don't want the rest of that rotation. Everybody was playing Vassell and Richardson and McDermott and even Bates Job, but with Branham and Sokan and Pirtle, just too many guys. So for me, it's Jones. If I have the salary to pay up, I think Keldon Johnson is going to go very underowned. And if I was going to go with anybody on the Nuggets side, I would much more want to go with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., or Aaron Gordon. So to have exposure here, I think is key. But to spend a lot of salary on this game, I'm basically talking about the Joker, I think I just don't think it's the greatest play tonight. I think that 75 can be had by several players. So that's where I'm at. Jay Blazing is in, man. Yes, Denver's finally healthy, which sucks for us, and it sucks for people that just want to jam the Joker in and expect him to get 85. It makes it very, very difficult. So I think you got to be really wary of getting too aggressive on that game. All right. You know what? I am killing it. I have gone through 11 games already at an app. So eat my dust there, Crash and Deb. They always blame me for going long, which they're usually right. But 15 games, and I'm going to do this sucker pretty good. It's only an hour, and I'm 4 games left. So, that's not bad. We did do an hour and a half podcast for 2 games the other day. So that'll tell you what this could have led to. All right. Everybody ready for this one? Because I think it's an interesting game with a really shitty total. It's the Brooklyn Nets at the Dallas Mavericks, 216.5. Dallas favored by 6. 105.25 implied for the Nets, 111.25 for the Denver Nuggets. Interesting. Or Denver Nuggets. Dallas Mavericks. I can't even say my own damn team. Brooklyn Nets, Dallas Mavericks. 216.5 is that total. Now, injuries. Ntilikina, Bertans, the same story every day. Kyrie Irving, God bless him, man. That dude, just whatever. Who knows if he'll ever play again at this point. You can never figure out anything he's going to do. I did see all the stuff the Nets want him to do to make amends, and knowing Kyrie, I doubt he's going to do much of that. So good luck. TJ Warren also still out. 9:45 game. Nets 4-6. Mavericks are 5-3. So what are we going to do in this game? It is the play, Luka. He's 12.5. So you know my theory today on all of that stuff. If we didn't have salary, I'd say, yeah, play Luka, play Giannis, but not going to go there. I just don't think it's the right matchup. But I think that the secondary pieces here in Spencer Dinwiddie at 6K, I think is a fine play. And Christian Wood at 6.4. Those are the two Mavericks I like because I think the price, the leverage because of the ownership is low. I think those two guys are the target guys for me on the Mavericks. I have 0.00 interest in Bullock, Finney-Smith, Powell, Hardaway, Kleba, Green, McGee. I can continue on. Do not touch any of those guys with a 10-foot pole. If you want to pay up for Luka, more power to you. You certainly can have 80s since he's been averaging more. He had more 30-point consecutive games to start a season than any other player in NBA history other than Wilt Chamberlain. That's pretty badass right there. So I certainly can, forgive you if you use the 12.5 on Luka. But for me, I'd rather go to the Dinwiddie or Wood spot and save about 6K. On the other side with Brooklyn, it's looking like it's going to be Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, Nick Claxton. Claxton absolutely murdered it for us the other day. Mavericks play a little too slow, a little too tough a defense, not going to spend the full 6.3 on him. But the big question that's killing me all day long, and it makes me sick. Kevin Durant's 11.1, and that price is really annoying because I really think he's going to have a good game here, but he's about $1,000 too much. I expected Kevin Durant to be 10.1 or 10.3, and I was prepared salary wise to go there. But at 11.1 in Dallas, they're still playing lousy basketball, Brooklyn. Dallas plays slow. They play good defense. Just a little bit out of my price range. And it's painful because I think he could easily throw 60 burger plus action on. And I think Durant's a fine play. I mean, with no Kyrie, who's going to score there? Ben Simmons, he can't shoot outside a foot. Joe Harris has been out forever. Royce O'Neal, forget it. I wouldn't take him down at the Y in a pickup game. I'm sorry. He can defend the hell out of it, but that's not going to get you any DFS points except for a few steals. Nick Claxton, to me, at 6.3, there's a lot of guys at 6.3 that I think can get his numbers, and their bench stinks. So it's Durant or bust. Dorian Finney-Smith's going to be on him like a wet blanket. Not that that's going to stop Durant, but at 11.1, Smith on him and Dwight Powell bugging him, and they're doubling down on him. I'm fading Kevin Durant, and I'm really fading the Nets. I just don't think they're that strong. So, yeah, I mean, it's a game where I'm going to have a little exposure to the secondary guys for Dallas, but not a game that I'm going to have exposure like you would expect that I would. But it is only 216.5. So I don't feel as bad fading the game there for sure. All right, let's see here. Coach with the solo dolo slate blast. All right, man. We'll call it that. Solo dolo slate blast. I'm not screwing around today. This is just win baby day for me. No effing around. Excuse the French. Little monster. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate you. We still have 3 games to go. Oh, by the way, I'm going to mention, you just reminded me, we have some great charities. If you have some winners and you're in here and you're loving what we're doing, throw a super chat in there. Every single penny that goes in there goes to our charity of choice. We have a fantastic charity this month for feeding the children. Then we have a dog placement. We all love dogs. That's going to be our December one. So anytime you do that, it goes in that bucket. Hit the little $sign on there. You can super chat at any time. Hopefully have some big winners in here, and maybe somebody we give that ticket away can cash in. Somebody did that last week and put in the bucket for charity, and we really did appreciate that. If you want to join us, this is the time. All the prices have come down. New entire look here at Coach Talk. A lot of the podcasts going behind the paywall. we're putting our big boy pants on here at Coach Talk. We feel we have the credibility, the winning, the family here, the support, the really good foundational members, and we want to grow. So we're looking to get some people to jump in. If you want to try us out just to see what we're about, 3 days, $10, can't beat it. So jump in there. Yes, David, thank you. No Kids Hungry, by the way, is the name of the charity for the month of November, which we're 1 week into already. So let's keep those coming. What's your pay up on Fanduel? Earl, it would not be a show without Fanduel inquiry from Mr. Mike Tyson. I will get to that, my friend, but I will tell you right now that the pricing on Fanduel, some of it, let me just look real quick for you, Earl, because I wanted to check updated Fanduel price ownership real quickly. Kyle Anderson right now on Fanduel's 56% owned. Small over ownership there. I know he's 3,600 and he's starting for Minnesota. I'm sorry. I think it's an over. Where I'm going to eat the chalk, second highest owned Hartenstein at 5,200. So wanted to mention that because you're going to get Kendrick Nunn at 35, high up there. Westbrook, that's hilarious that he's up so high. Weird ones too. Troy Brown Jr. getting a lot of attention. All the regulars that we said before. Anthony Davis is, though, getting a lot at 10-6. So, that's understandable as well. FanDuel, you're asking me my favorite pay-ups. Well, Mr. Tyson, I'm going to try to avoid the 11-1 as far as Mr. Durant. I'm going to avoid the 12K guys and Joker, and I'm going to avoid also even Luka. I just think the build of the guys I'm looking at, and to answer your question, $8,500 Tyrese Halliburton, I think is a great pay-up decision at a much abbreviated type of ownership and cost. I think you can get to guys like, let's see, Anthony Edwards is 8K if you want to go there. That's a decent pay-up. I think also Terry Rozier at 7-9 if he plays and is in there playing the point exclusively for them, I think is a terrific play. Fred VanVleet is only 7,200. So not going to be spending the big, it's going to be much more of a medium build here for Coach today. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Back to the games because we were on a breakneck pace. How about the Sacramento Kings at 10 o'clock against the Golden State Warriors? 234.5. Golden State favored by 8, 113.25 for the Kings, 121.25 for the Warriors. Very intriguing game here with a very good total. And, we know Golden State rested everybody, so they're ready to go. Kings are 3-5, Warriors 3-7. Would you believe the Warriors, the defending world champions, are 3-7? Sacramento not listing anybody injured. DiVincenzo and Iguodala remain out for Golden State. Everybody rested. Everybody's back. Is that a good thing or bad thing? Well, it's never a good thing for us in DFS. We want either some guys in and some guys out, and that makes for the best combination because we know we get those usage numbers up for everybody. But we're not going to get that with Golden State tonight. So can you go to any spots there and pay the big money? Curry at 9.9. That's a lot of money. Clay's at 5.7. If you're believing that he's out of that slump, I know he got really pissed at Barkley and all that, had that great breakout game for us. I don't know if he goes back-to-back with that. I'm a little worried. Wiggins is a fair 7K. He would fit right into that mid-level build that we're looking at. Draymond's 5.8, Looney 4.2, Poole off the bench 7.1, way too expensive. I mean, he got there for us the other day, but that's because the rest of the team sat. All the other guys that stepped up the other day are just absolutely unplayable. Don't go to Kuminga, Weissman, Moody, Jerome. It's silly. You can't go there with 30 teams playing and all the regulars back. So where do I go with the Warriors? It would be same like I've been doing. Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins would be my two top guys on that side. For the Kings, Sabonis at 8.6. I just wish his price would come down. I'd love Sabonis at like 8.1, but I just think that's just a touch high because he's had some floor games that are a bit concerning. Kevin Huerter at 5.6 has been really good. I can't say for a medium build he's a bad spot to go. De'Aaron Fox, if he's playing, without any restrictions, I think is very good, sneaky, low-owned play because not many people are going to be able to afford him at 8.9. They're going to think, well, I'm just going to go up to all those other guys I mentioned. Fox is dangerous if he has regular run today and is on my radar when we see how some of these other injuries fall out. If you want to go on the cheap, a Huerter, I think, is a great spot to go. Not as keen right now on Keegan Murray, but I think, somebody to keep an eye on going forward. He is a rookie, and you're going to have some real slumped games in there. And no bench for me for the Kings. All right, 2 games left, people. 10-15, Lakers, Jazz, 227 total. Utah by 6.5, 110.25 implied for the Lakers, 116.75 for the Jazz. This game is going to get a ton of interest and a lot of ownership, even though it's 7 points below that group of 3 or 4 games that had the big numbers. But I think because we have what we talked about, some guys that aren't going to be playing for the Lakers, as you saw in ownership, now the Lakers are dominating. If you want to stack 3 Lakers, you're going to lose. How's that for being, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but if you think you can stack, a bunch of Lakers and those guys are going to get you there. Kendrick, if you have Kendrick Nunn, Russell Westbrook, and Troy Brown, those are the 3 highest owned guys right now in DraftKings. I don't see how you win. I know they're 3,065 and 38. And you may say, hey, coach, well, maybe you can play Luka and Giannis. Well, those 2 at that price, it's still really hard to play them. And if they do get 75 each and you get a 15 from Troy Brown or something, you're screwed. So I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm just, for what it's worth, I just don't think you can overblow it with this Lakers shenanigans with everybody going there. Do I want one of the cheap Lakers? Yes, I do. Will it be Russell Westbrook at that lower medium build at 6.5? Can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm leaning towards Russell Westbrook. I never thought I'd say it, but it is what it is. Anthony Davis is 9.1, people. 9.1. Yes, I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. He fits. I might go Westbrook and Davis here. Not going to play with all that crap. Nunn and Reeves and Brown and Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones. All these guys are just garbage. I'm sorry. You got to, if you're going to pay up here at all, go to the 9.1, grossly underpriced for Anthony Davis with LeBron out. Probably the best play value-wise. Yes, he's a bit chalky. I get that. But, man, this build that we're having with those couple of cheap guys and all these $8,000 and $9,000 guys that can be real close to the output of the Lukas and Giannis's, I think that's the way to go. That's my build today. So, that's what I'm doing. I think that's the safe way to go. I don't know how you have the guts to sweat out Nunn, Reeves, and all these other jamblonis playing for the Lakers. It just, when you got to sweat out 20 fantasy points or 25 on a 30-game slate, you're in a bit of trouble. But that is up to you, my friends. All I can give you is my opinion. That's all I'm saying. Jay is with me on Westbrook. Oh, that makes me feel good. Appreciate that. Dennis Smith Jr. is in, so that changes things a little bit for me as far as it decreases my love for Mr. Terry Rozier a little bit. Now I lean more towards an Oubre or PJ Washington in that matchup with Smith being ruled in. And I would assume he's probably playing without restrictions if he's in there because he usually does not play injured. All right. As far as the other side of the ball there, let's talk a few seconds about the Jazz because Obviously, if there's going to be some ownership on one side, and I'm going to be putting my really late evening slate, especially on the line with Westbrook and Davis, where do you want to go with Utah? Well, you've got Markkanen at 7.5, which is fair. I think that's a very fair price. That's, I think, their consistently best player. Jared Vanderbilt at a cheap 5.3 and Kelly Olynyk at 5.5. If those guys are going to get the big minutes, I think you can consider them. I prefer them over the backcourt of Conley, Clarkson, Sexton. I think that's now a three-headed monster with Sexton when he's in there is Chuck and Duck. So he's going to get a bunch of shots up and take usage away from Conley and Clarkson. And Basketball Reference shows that as you look at those. So you've got to be very cognizant of that. Injury-wise, by the way, Vanderbilt is questionable. So, we got to watch that. I'm not going to probably go with anybody questionable in a late game like that just because it's too risky. Kelly Olynyk, maybe. LA's interior defense has been horrific so far. So, you can consider him, I think, as a flyer if you're not going to, if Adams is out or someone, we were looking to get that cheap price in there as well. All right. Last game, Cleveland Cavaliers 8-1. Break up the Cavs, man. I love the Cavs. Clippers are 5-5. We've got Rubio and Windler remain out for Cleveland. Two more guys that I waste saying them every day. The big news, Reggie Jackson, questionable. Luke Kennard, questionable. They don't have any guards. We already know Kawhi and John Wall are out. Does that make Paul George a key play on this slate? I'm not going to go there, guys. I know that he's going to be popular. I know that there's a lot of reasons why. Cleveland's defense is badass. They defend, and they do it team-wise. And you're not going to get any cheap penetration hoops to the bucket, not with those two big guys. I mean, I think they're the best big man 4-5 combination defenders in basketball. I'll take Mobley and Allen over any 4-5 defensively, I'm talking, in the league. So if you're going to score on the interior, look for big games against Cleveland, and George needs to mix it up. He's not just all threes. I mean, he's going to penetrate, get some putbacks, but I think they're going to be limited with Mobley and Allen in there. And, Cleveland is more healthy than they've been. Garland, Mitchell, LeVert, Mobley, Allen. You got Wade and Love and Osman, Okoro. They're pretty deep. They're a dangerous team. And you have the lowest total on the board here, 213.5. Cleveland is a road favorite at 4.5, which is definitely going to tick off some of the Clippers folks. But, this is just not a good DFS game. You've got all the guys back sharing the love, if you will, in Cleveland. So it makes Mitchell at 9.2 too pricey. Is Darius Garland underpriced at 6.9? Absolutely is. And he would be the one exception I would think about. I mean, for crying out loud, Karis LeVert's $200 more than Darius Garland. So Garland would be the one guy that I would like to get to if I get to anybody. Other than that, no interest on the Cleveland side. No interest on the bigs or Paul George for me today at 9.3, which is fair for Paul George. I admit that. The big question is who's going to be playing. If Reggie Jackson's not playing, if Luke Kennard's not playing, is it Batum? Is it Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey? I mean, that's the problem. You've got a lot of guys that can fill those minutes, none that are that great, though. But for a last man in, when we get the starting lineups, if it is a Batum or Powell or Mann or Coffey, whoever's in that group that looks like they're confirmed in the starting lineup, you think you're going to get 30 minutes and you're going to get their prices, so because it does make a huge difference. And you got to think the problem is if you play one of these guys and Reggie ends up playing, you're in trouble because you're not going to have anybody to pivot to. But if he's out, you can pivot around between a 3-5 Batum, a 4-7 Powell, a 3-3 Mann, and a 3-1 Coffey. That's easy to do. But getting stuck with one of them, if these other, if Jackson, Kennard, any of these guys are going to play, then you're going to be in trouble. So for me, I think I have enough with my medium build and really not having to pay way up that I don't have to, pray that Reggie's not going to play and one of these cheap guards is. So I would rather save enough for the 6-9 with Garland if I'm going to go anywhere in this game. All right. That's pretty much every game. And we did it in an hour 25. Wanted to stay a little shorter than that, but it's 30 teams, my friends. I am going to choose somebody to win the ticket. If I call your name, jump on Twitter, go to @DFS Coach Talk, and DM me your PayPal email, and we will get you taken care of right away. The winner of the ticket today is clicked on William Roan. William Roan, you are the winner. You're new. You're pretty new too. William Roan is in there. I had to look twice because I didn't recognize the name right away. So William Roan, you won a ticket tonight you can use on DK or Fanduel. Just shoot me a DM on Twitter @DFS Coach Talk. Congratulations, William. Any final questions before we check out? We still have plenty of time, good 45 minutes till lock. No problem there. Appreciate that. Thanks for all the positive things, people. Appreciate that. And then tomorrow there's no podcast because it's a dark day for basketball. But we will be back, Crash and I, on Wednesday to break everything down for you. All right. Congratulations again, William. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Enjoy a crazy basketball night, flipping all over. Trying to watch 15 games is going to be a chore, no question about it, but it is a great thing to try to tackle. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, David, Little Monster, King of All Trades, Jade, all this group. Good positive things. Hopefully this gets everything in line for you for the slate tonight. Thanks again. Have a great day. Appreciate all of you. And we'll be back on Wednesday again when we look to crush it in NBA, DFS, and Boom Fantasy.